And we are live. Welcome to the second episode of the PlatsTalk podcast. I am joined by Wildcrafters today, as always. So, if that first, should be 480p. I don't know why this guy's giving me an error. Okay, I think we should be, yeah, we should be good. Should be 480p. I don't know why. So, for those of you who didn't hear, welcome to the second episode of the PlatsTalk podcast. I am here with Wildcrafters. So, Wildcrafters, how are you today?
Good.
Yeah, so I gotta put out a couple announcements. I usually put out I should have done that first. But we can start. We have two topics today. We're gonna be talking about rule number 1. So there is a lot of debate about what rule number 1 really is in Rocket League. You know, a lot of debate. In my opinion, I think it's deadlock car, but we're gonna be getting into that later, about a little bit about rule number 1, stuff like that. And the second thing is gonna be NA versus EU playstyles.
Yes.
So I actually have a couple graphics for that of playstyles at a bunch of different ranks. I'm pretty excited for that one. Gonna be fun.
We'll start off with rule number 1.
Yeah, I listed that first in the title too, so we are going to start off with rule number 1. If you want to start talking about rule number 1 just for a minute here, because I got to do a couple things before I actually, so if you want to start by talking about rule number 1 quickly.
Yeah. So, there's been a lot of debate between deadlock cars and keeping the ball up as rule number 1.
Yeah, definitely.
It can mean, multiple different players can mean different things. Like, for example, people in deadlock cars could say yes for number 1 because that's like the unlucky thing that's ever going to happen for a team. And it's just one of those things where you should never back down to. And some players could say, well, keeping the ball up is just mad respect for the other team, like attempting to try and get redemption or score again.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I'll tell you right now, any gameplay I play, if I'm down by like 1,
Your headset just conked out.
Yeah, sorry, I'm back.
Okay,
So,
you left the party.
No, my headset cut out for a sec.
Oh, damn. Alright, well, pick up where you left off.
Like I said, in any games I play, it's usually if a team is up by like 10 or something, or they're up by enough that they can sacrifice a goal, they'll typically keep the ball up. If a team's just up by 1 and they're just like you guys are equal skill level, typically no one's gonna keep that ball up. They're going to immediately ground it to take the win, so then they get the rank up or the division up.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
even in pro gameplay, for example, RLCS, if a team's up by 1 in the final series and they're up by 1 and the ball hits 0, they're gonna try and ground that ball.
Yeah,
and they can
definitely.
secure the win.
I don't exactly. There's definitely a lot of history about rule number 1. So if I look up, I remember there was this one. I want to say it was on Reddit. It was on the Rocket League subreddit. Yeah, I would say though that rule number 1 is definitely not trying to keep the ball up, in my opinion.
Deadlock cars.
Deadlock cars, and that's kind of the rule number 1 that I've really always played with. Has been it's been like that. I've played with rule number 1 being okay. When you lock, when you're in a battle with someone, you don't back down. And I can kind of see, and I actually saw there was a video by Sunless Khan about rule number 1, and from what I learned in that video, it was really been, it was kind of a historical change in the Rocket League scene. So at first, the developers, so Psyonix, and also not only Psyonix, but in the community, they called keeping the ball up rule number 1. However, over time, people started to call a deadlock car rule number 1. Now, if you don't know what a deadlock car is, first of all, you're kind of, I mean, you should know it. It's basically when you're in, I'll simulate it with a bot, but when you're in a
Bots
head-to-head
don't do it,
challenge.
they back down.
What?
Bots always back down from it. Bots will back
Yeah,
down
so
from
when
it.
you're in a head-to-head challenge with
that
someone,
theory.
you never back down. So I'll try and simulate it with a rookie bot here for you all. But whenever you are in one of these battles, do not back down. So
They'll back down, by the way, really fast.
oh, well, bots back down?
I've already tried testing it because it's in the bot's like way. If there's something blocking their path, they just reverse back and turn around it. So your car's like a problem in the way. It's like, oh, that's just problem in the way. It's just how bots are.
Yeah.
But deadlock cars basically when you're driving towards someone and someone's in your way, and then you guys don't demo, you guys are just holding.
Yeah, you have to stay
forward,
locked. So I'll pull it up
you
here.
Can't just back off. And all that. You can click boost, but you're never allowed to back off.
Yeah, so I'll try and simulate with a bot. This will also be pretty funny too for you guys watching. But you basically just, I don't know why I'm getting such a low frame rate. So see, I'm kind of head on. Okay, I'm trying to simulate this, but I'm incredibly bad at it. Why is my FPS so low? Jeez. But as I was saying, basically, you can't back down. You just don't want to back down from one of these battles. And, oh, it's my monitor. I forgot my monitor sometimes does this. And now, why do you think that the community kind of made this change over time?
Because people started realizing that keeping the ball up is just for like someone trying to say, "Oh, go ahead, try and score," because they're just trying to be cocky and say they're not gonna score. There's no way. They're obviously just gonna mess up some way. But it's also like if you're up by 1 and you guys and you know if they can score if they have that chance. Then it's just a matter of fact of get the ball down, I want the win. Yeah,
you know, I kind of get what you're saying, and I tend to agree with that one, more so that people, you know, they're gonna do that as opposed, like, say, like, you're in, like, Game 7 or LCS, and you're winning by 1 goal, you know, that's kind of what you should do. Hi, Matt. That's kind of what you should do, is just, you know, just ground the ball, and that's, I know there's a lot of people that really are like, okay, this is not rule number 1. This is rule number, or people that are saying, okay, keeping the ball up is rule number 1. But in my opinion, it should be deadlock car. Now, I don't really understand why it's deadlock car in a sense. And I think you kind of get what I'm saying. Like, it seems like kind of, I don't know why I'm at 30 FPS right now, but I'm just gonna live with it.
Car is because it's like the hardest thing to ever get in the game, because the chances of you not demoing your opponent, you perfectly aligning with them, and you guys don't bounce off each other and just sit there, is really really hard to get. So
that is really, a very good point. Because
you bounce off a lot of people.
It's that hard that you might as well just kind of respect it in a sense.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to do.
Another thing about keeping the ball up, for example, the This Is Rocket League clip from RLCS.
Yeah.
If that one, I forgot what the team it was. All I know is I'm pretty sure
it was
NRG versus Dignitas.
NRG versus Dignitas season 5 finals. If you haven't seen it, like, holy crap! Look at that clip. It's all over the internet.
If they didn't keep that ball up, they would have won the game right there. They would have gone to a game 7. But
yeah,
they kept the ball up and they went right into game 7 because of it.
Yeah, so they kept the ball up in that sense, though. But Dignitas, they tried to kill it, but they actually couldn't kill it. They tried to. Like, despite their efforts, they were unable to kill it. Why am I getting... Oh, okay, wait.
And that's also another great example of why you should always kill the ball. If you're up like that, you just go for it.
Yeah.
Because you never know the skill of some player. They could be an incredible ones main. They can easily dribble blast both you and your teammates. Yeah. And they get the goal, and they send it to overtime, and then one unlucky kickoff goal, and there you go. You're gone. You lost the game.
Yeah, I definitely get what you're saying. I think that, in my opinion, with rule number 1, I think that the rule number 1 that we have right now with deadlock car is a fair rule number 1. I think that, in my opinion, you know, maybe it's because of when I started playing the game, but rule number 1 being a deadlock car has just been something that at this point I have just come to know, and it's just something that I've come to kind of get used to over time. And
it's also because karma will come back.
Yeah, I will try and find this replay. I'll find this replay that I have, but I have a replay. I think it's just called like F or something. It is somebody who they were in a standard battle, just head on with each other. very standard battle scenario, and what ended up happening is
Unless he backed down.
they backed down and then they got scored on. And I think that I used to back down from battles like when I maybe very first started, but then as I've kind of learned the rules,
you were also a lot newer at the game.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I would say as I've kind of learned the rules, I haven't made that mistake. Hopefully.
Well, because you take a look at it, when you first start the game, you're not going to pull off a flip reset, a ceiling shot, or anything.
Yeah,
you're
definitely.
You're barely going to pull off a front flip goal.
Yeah, I mean, I still pull off front flip goals. Okay, I think it's this one.
Players that are doing... You're going to find freestylers now that are doing musty flicks in the air off a ceiling.
Yeah, so, yeah, I'm curious, though. How does this relate back to rule number 1?
I'm saying the skill level between, like, you didn't know the rule back then, but when you're better at the game, you'll know more mechanics, you'll know more about the game, you'll know the rules.
This replay is just called Y. I don't think that this is the one. Yeah, I'm just hunting for the replay right now. But I would consider rule number... Here it is. I would consider rule number 1 to be, yeah, deadlock car. And, I mean, when you get the history of it, you know, I can see why people wanted to keep the ball up. And one thing that I didn't like, but I mentioned it last week. Or I forgot to mention it last week. In the spring series, James Bot, one of the casters, even said that rule number 1 is keeping the ball up. And I was just basically like, are you serious? That is not rule number 1. I know Twitch chat was probably in a complete rage about that, in my opinion. That's probably what happened. Is that Twitch chat was just like complete
well, another thing
raging.
Is you shouldn't be saying that, especially on like live channels, is you shouldn't really be talking about like, oh yeah, this is what I think, because you're going to have a lot of people have a controversy about it.
Yeah, what are we doing right now?
End up losing a lot of people. Well, we don't really talk about it. We have like what, 1 subscriber?
Oh, we got 2 viewers right now.
We have 2 viewers. I guarantee you, probably one of them hates us.
Yeah, you know, it's a pretty good possibility. I'm trying to find this replay where the guy backed down from the battle. Were you in a battle with them and then they backed down and I clipped it? Was that what happened?
Rob, but I get in battles all the time. But I never backed down.
No, I couldn't find it. It's just called F. I can't find this replay anywhere.
I don't ever consider a battle if it's like you're holding reverse into someone and they're holding a drive. That's not considered a battle to me.
There's also I know that's you, Matt. The profile picture saying. There's also RLCI. It might not be Matt. Also RLCI. Yes, I know that, but the scenario. Oh, here it is. The scenario with this one was that this was on national TV, so I do understand that there are people that will call it.
You're probably gonna get a whole lot of people going getting mad over that, and then they'll spend the rest of their lives just trying to prove their point.
I get that, but in this scenario, it was more kind of just because I think it was televised that, you know, maybe some people got upset about that. And then again, the same thing can be said when there's people that, you know, get upset about rule number 1.
Because it's like, rule number 1
here it is, I found it.
Things. It's between respect or just being respected. Because if you're trying to respect your opponents, you'll end up keeping the ball up and try and give them another chance. But if you want to be respected, you'll back down from that battle because then you'll get instantly karma'd and then you'll be made fun of.
Yeah, we're talking about instantly karma'd, and just a little note here. So if you look at this replay that I found, so this is Wildcrafters getting into a battle here with this player here. And what ended up happening is, if you can see, that player backed down from the battle and I immediately went up and scored. Now, yes, I probably, given that scenario, if we look at that again, I most likely, if I had scored that there, would have scored that anyways, because that guy didn't have enough time to recover from the battle and get back. But, you know, just kind of shows
anyway.
There's a bit of karma with backing down from battles and stuff. Now, is that all for backing down from battles, or rule number 1? You want to move into the next topic?
If chat has anything to say about it, we can talk. But if chat
yeah, do you guys have anything to say about rule number? We heard one thing, that there are RLCS commentators that call the deadlock card rule number 1, and we do understand that. I think that either way, you know, there's going to be a debate. There's going to be people who, when somebody says, oh, rule number 1 is deadlock car, they're going to say, no, rule number 1's keeping the ball up. We talked about toxicity last week, and, you know, that's what this community does. But I think there's a more general conception about that deadlock car is rule number 1 rather than keeping the ball up. I'm literally going to Google it right now.
Does chat have anything to say or no?
Yeah, chat, do you guys have anything to say? I'll keep this up for a couple seconds here, and then I'm trying to see.
Do you have
Musty
like
did a Twitter poll on it. What is rule number 1 in Rocket League? I can't find it though.
Alright, has Twitch responded?
Okay,
or
no, yeah, not gonna
on?
lie, until recently I hadn't even heard of keeping the ball. You hadn't, no, that was, a, you know, a very old conception, I believe, that a lot of people used to call,
back then
a deadlock call rule number 1. Now, I just found a
respect.
post from Mertzy from last year, and it says there seems to be a lot of opinions on what exactly rule number 1 in Rocket League is. Which of the following is officially the number 1 rule of Rocket League? And keeping the ball up when it's 0 seconds, regardless of who's winning, had 42%, whereas deadlock car, as we had shown in the demonstration, had about 58%. So there's it's a very clear. Well, it's close, but it really shows that there are very common conceptions about.
'Cause in my opinion, the deadlock car thing is for more higher players, and the keeping the ball is for more lower players.
No, I would actually argue. I would
of-
argue that it's the other way around, because you have the newer players that are. I think it's
Yeah,
more of an
newer
issue in
players.
higher ranks, because you have the newer players that like all the newer
in a
players are the
higher
ones
rank,
that
though,
know of deadlock
players are
car
not.
being rule number 1.
I'm talking like high is like deadlock cars is like GC and above, and then like the ball thing is like lower because some players are like, oh yeah, keep it up, give us at least some more of a chance, like Devil Redemption.
Yeah, I kind of get what you're saying.
And it's
But
it's mostly because
yeah.
players lose. It's the players that mostly lose a lot are typically the players that want to have that Devil Redemption so they have their extra shot at trying to win.
Yeah, I kind of get what you're
'Cause all
saying.
it takes is that one goal. It just takes one goal to turn the entire game around.
You know, I think
'Cause, like-
that, you know, keeping the ball up in Rocket League, in my opinion, when you should keep the ball up is if there's, say, you know, I would more so understand if that was rule number 1. In a way, I would understand it. But the problem is, you know, if you're up by a goal, do you respect that rule, or do you just kill the ball to win the game? Especially if you're in a very competitive scenario. Like, for example, if the teams are either
You're about to
tied or
rank up
if
to
like
diamond, you're about to rank up to diamond and you've been plat for so long, or you've been in champion for so long and you want to finally get that GC rank,
yeah.
and you need one more win, you get your GC wins. What
And
would
then-
you do if you're at the lead? Would you would you respect the rule and say, oh yeah, I'll keep it up and risk my having my GC for like season 3
Yeah,
that you can never get back, or would you rather just dip on the rule?
and I kind of get what you're saying, but you know, it only really would make sense if there is per se,
Something on the line for it.
yeah, something on the line, or if it's a 1 goal or a tie. Other than that, it wouldn't make sense. Now, moving on.
If it's a tie,
Yeah.
I get why you could keep it up, because it's like, oh yeah, give me the chance. No, give me the chance. Oh, we both.
Yeah,
have
I
chances.
kind of
Alright,
get
let's both
that,
get the
and then
chance.
I get if it's a 1 goal deficit, one team's gonna keep it up. Even if you're just respecting the rule and playing for fun, 2 goal deficit makes sense. But in my opinion, deadlock car is rule number 1. But we should move on
Yeah.
to our second topic, which is EU versus NA playstyles. So what I find is that NA players,
EU stays on the ground. and
EU stays on the
NA
ground,
stays
and
high.
NA plays in the air. So I have a replay up. This is Ghosty, a moderator on Skips by his Discord
MTX
name.
Ghosty, to be precise.
This is one of the moderators from MTX Gaming that they play on the European servers, and this is their replay that I'm going to be showing while we talk about this. So as you can see, now yes, he is ranked lower, so his rank, or not necessarily lower, but his rank is gold in comparison to, and I don't know if we have any of Robbie, but his rank is gold in comparison to the platinum replay that I'm going to be
Robbie's not
watching. But, you know, if you notice, the ground play is a lot more emphasized. It's almost like, you know, it's more kind of strategy based in a sense.
It's like it's played. EU is more of a who can outplay the other person better, versus NA. It's like, oh yeah, who can just get the luckiest aerial, or who can do the most mechanics.
You know, that makes sense a lot, and that even ties in with what we could do next week, how a lot of newer players are simply kind of just learning mechanics rather than positioning. But
Playing the game.
beyond that, if you can tell here, Ghosty is playing kind of a lot. Well, yes, he's playing slower, but that could be because he's a lower rank. But we don't have an exact apples to apples comparison here. I had a bunch of replays with her on my PC, and that's gonna lag the footage, so we can't really do that one. But as you can see from this replay here, you notice that it's not necessarily, it's just less in the air. It's a lot more on the ground. And even if you see, because I believe this was on the North American servers, a lot of the other people are in the air more, and these people would be somewhat relative to Ghosty's rank. They'd be about in between Ghosty's rank of gold 2 or 3 at this time, and my rank on this account of platinum 2. So as you can see, like, I'm going up, but rather Ghosty's more kind of staying on the ground. And what do you think really drives those regional differences?
It's nothing. It's the same thing with sports too. Like if you take a look, for example, if you take a look at hockey, you're not going to see a European team versus a North American team.
Well, that's just because of that. That's more because of Can you really say the servers play different though in a game like there's going to be a meta and the meta isn't going to change on another server? I would argue. I definitely see what you're saying here. I just read a chat message. I definitely see what you're saying, but I would argue that I would show higher level gameplay, but that's gonna screw up the recording a lot. I would definitely argue.
If you take a look at RLCS EU players versus RLCS NA players, you're going to find a big difference in how they both play.
Yeah, I would argue, and even we have talked to Robbie, who's in almost nearly GC in MTX. He's like mid to high champ 3. And
he's champ 2.
Oh, he's champ 2, okay. And, he has argued, he told me, G2 won because they played like an EU team. And I was like, how do you think that? And I kind of forgot his response, but I kind of see what he's saying. They played more strategically, kind of going for passes over just kind of going to, necessarily hit the ball. And I'm not saying NRG is a bad team. I'm just kind of trying to argue my point here that I believe the metas are very different between, and I'll play an NA replay. I'll play one of me. I would argue that the metas are very different.
Yes.
Now,
like, for example, if you take a look at like the platinum rank, you're seeing platinums pull off ceiling shots and beginning to start learning how to do like air dribbles, and like they're starting to learn more mechanics that you would see in EU players starting to learn in like champ 1.
I wouldn't go that far. I notice very slight differences. One thing I almost notice about EU servers sometimes when I play is that the game just feels faster in a sense. I don't know why. It just is almost like the game is a little bit faster. And they just plays a lot
slower, and they basically just go shot for shot. Versus EU, they just go, okay, who can handle the most pressure put on them?
I kind of understand that, but I think that, especially if you watch an EU team play, it's a lot more strategy based and a lot less in the air. It's a little bit more kind of ground play. And yes, there's people aerialing and stuff, but if you're kind of judging from the replay here, it is more ground based. And keep in mind, Ghosty and I are only a rank set apart in this replay, and now Ghosty's a gold 3 and I'm a plat 3, so we're still about a rank set apart. But as you can see, he's playing a lot more on the ground. This makes me want to try NA servers if it's really this different. Yeah, it depends on your rank. So I think that it is a lot more prevalent at possibly the higher ranks if you're watching RLCS and stuff. But I think that it is, I am starting to know a difference. I think that back when I first met Ghosty, when I was maybe kind of lower plat, I don't think there was as much of a difference. But now I am starting to notice a bit of a difference. I'm not entirely sure though. You're pretty certain on there being a difference. I know that for sure.
Because I can see a difference. Because, for example, yesterday when I was playing with Robbie, I noticed that more of the players would never just let me go do things. They would just let me, like, if I went to go try and do a ceiling shot, for example, they would just bat me down straight in the field versus an NA, I just get batted off in the air.
Well, I understand that, but keep in mind that Robbie is 2 rank sets higher than you.
Yeah.
So that could have something to do with it. We wouldn't really have a real comparison until we saw the same ranks on NA and EU servers. And what sucks is I have those replays. I have Silver 3 NA versus Silver 3 EU, but it's going to mess up my Streamlabs because my PC's not powerful enough to run both.
Let's just do a Sunless versus Robbie.
I don't think we'd be able to pull that one off, and I think Sunless is a bit higher of a rank because he's closer to GC than Robbie is. But
He's C3.
you know, if you take a look, let me find RLCS EU or.
Go on the subreddit that like. You can
No,
just, like,
I'm not
find
gonna go on the
random replays
subreddit.
of
I'm just
people.
gonna look up RLCS. Top 10. Is this from RLCS C2?
NAs.
RLCS Top 10 Season 7. So I will stop this replay here. RLCS Top 10. Okay, I'm gonna find quickly the top 10 of RLCS for Season 7. And I don't know if that's gonna help us emphasize a bit of a difference here. I understand that, yes, there was a Season 8. I'm an idiot for looking up. Okay, Vitality won in Season 7. The grand final. Okay, we'll go with this one. I don't know why, but we're gonna go with this one. So if you kind of look here, other than the first kind of one here, which was the longest wave record, I'm not sure if you will notice a bit of a difference. Now, I know that I definitely notice a difference when I play on EU servers, just a very slight difference. So if you kind of see it's NA versus EU, it's kind of hard. I mean, are you on my stream right now? Because I think you'd be able to explain this a bit better.
No. Not your stream. I could probably
I
explain
find
pretty
that
well.
NA though, if you're watching two NA teams play, it's so much more in the air. That's what I find, especially at higher ranks. So this
Well,
is
even
South
for
America.
RLCS, it's also more of the who can like you get one shot and then you back off and another person take a shot. Back
Can
off,
I
another person
find
takes
like
a shot. It's a
G2
one.
versus
It's basically
NRG Spring
it's a
Series?
one-on-one. Because it's always gonna be that one team getting that one like shot on, and then one defender saves it, and then they're on to the offense straight away. Versus
Yeah.
on EU, they throw everything they have all at once, and then they immediately just go straight for a goal, and they usually end up getting that goal.
Yeah.
'Cause
Okay.
also
I'm
take
just
a
trying
look
to
at the
find it
difference between
here.
goal like
A clip from the
what's the
Spring
average
Series,
goal
and we can
for
see there.
RLCS on EU and A?
Yeah, I would have to say that there's a difference in my opinion. Let me load up
EU's
because
probably
I
a
think
lot
we're gonna
higher
run
than
out of
NA.
time because I don't have much more time. But let me quickly pull up my replay. So in comparison to Ghosty's replay, if you can see a difference between the playstyles. So this is me. Again, this is with Ghosty, so that will help as well. This is me on an alt around Plat 2 on this account. So if you notice, it's just I'm going to be going for a lot more stuff in the air. So for example, like I'm going for this. Now, I don't know what service is played on, but like EU wouldn't do that. And yes, Ghosty's kind of I don't know. It's really hard to describe because these replays aren't really showing it that well. But you know, I do feel like there's a difference depending on the service that you're playing on.
Well, also because we also have worse Wi-Fi.
No, I don't think that's it. I don't think it's the internet. I just, you know, it could be placebo. But if you watch some more competitive games, you know, I would argue that there is a bit of a difference. People and what would you say mainly? Because you kind of heard from me a bit that it's just more in the air. But what would you say mainly that difference is?
For example, EU players, you're not gonna see EU players pull off air stuff as often, but you'll see them pull off ground plays like people you'd see in NA ones. Like the facts that we've seen so far is EU. If you're seeing an EU platinum, they'll know how to do musty flicks. They'll know how to do a half a quarter flip. They'll know how to do 90-degree flicks. They'll know how to do breezy flicks.
Yeah,
Versus take a
notice
look
even
at
in this
NA,
replay, the one thing that I know is just starting to
in
interrupt.
GC, you'll probably start to learn breezy flicks and all that.
You
kind
wouldn't
of
go for that,
flicks.
but it really depends. Yeah, I got what you're saying. I just got a chat message. You wouldn't go for that, but it really depends on the player. You know, you are right in that sense. It does definitely depend a lot on the player, but I do think that there are some play style differences. And I'm not saying that one region is better than the other, because in my opinion, they're about the same.
EU is better.
That's a story for another time. But in my opinion, I would say that it's just kind of slightly different play styles. So like some of the stuff that I go for, maybe just because I play a little bit more aggressive, but I think I would argue that you would go for some of that stuff as well. But EU is just, I find, and I wish I had because I knew these servers, but I don't. It's just almost like it's
EU
more
people
strategy
let you
based.
go for more stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
EU, the people let you go for more things, but on NA, if they somehow in EU an NA sees you going up the wall, they're gonna chase you down so you can't get up that wall
The
because they
competitive
know that
rotations are really
you're
different.
going to do
Yes, that's
something.
a good point. We had a chat message. The competitive rotations are definitely different. How people
Oh yeah, on EU it's a lot better rotations because people learn positioning more in EU versus on
yeah,
NA
you're right
players
about
are
that.
all
You don't
scattered and they
really
want goal.
see these EU
Because NA
teams.
players are just like, I want goal, I want goal, I want the goal, I want the goal. And at some point, you're like, oh, we just triple committed.
Yeah, I find that EU, and that's kind of the point that Robbie put up as well. I kind of get that. It's the rotation that EU teams do. So, for example, let me just point out here. So, North American teams, if you think about more flashy clips, when you think about the squishy ceiling shot, stuff like that, it's NA teams
No,
that come to
Squishy did a
mind.
ceiling shot, and that's amazing now.
What?
Squishy did a ceiling shot, now everyone's like, oh my god.
No, it was like
Ceiling
the
shot,
first one in
Squishy
RLCS
muffins.
or something like that. But you think
Okay, I see
about
that.
all these mechanical stuff, and they're all NA. But kind of the EU clips that you more so, and maybe that's just because I play on NA servers, so it's what I tend to remember. That could be it. But you
Well, on
you tend to
EU, you're
find
looking
more
at
of
like
these mechanical
crazy
things on
flicks
NA.
and all
But
that piss
EU
flicks.
teams are just so much kind of more well-rounded. Well, NA teams even might have like one player carrying the team in some scenarios, and maybe have some players that are underperforming, and that could be holding them back. But EU teams just, I want to say they play more like a team than an NA team does.
Oh yeah. In NA, if you take a look at a basic gold or platinum playstyle, you're gonna see everyone double committing, triple committing, because they just want that goal.
Yeah,
They don't want their teammates getting it. Versus on EU, they're like, oh, don't worry about stealing the goal. Just get the goal. Get it. We want that goal. We want to be able to win.
I
And they
mean,
play a lot
you
smarter than
bring that
NA.
up, but that's almost kind of what we've been trying to do recently, just in our games. But
Well,
I
we
kind
tried,
of,
but we've also started playing more on the EU side too.
yeah, but I do want to say EU also. I remember when you brought up this point about how our friend Matt plays. Shout out to you, Matt. I think you're on still. And he played back when he played more consistently. He plays a lot more on the ground, and that was
Oh yeah,
more of
he still
a kind of
does.
going for dribble plays and stuff. I don't know if that's more of an EU thing. Yes, I'm a Dignitas fan and I watch most of their games, but it's really hard for me to tell.
But you're a
Um,
squishy fan.
yes, I am a Squishy fan, but I do watch Dignitas. Um, and I mean, yes, you're starting to see some of the more mechanical stuff from EU teams, like stuff from Astral per se. But as I can remember, because it was just from watching Dignitas, but two of the things that I remember from Astral was like a like a really good angle and like kind of a fake that was all on the ground, and like those are both primarily ground plays as opposed to it being in the air. Most
Yes.
freestylers are European, though, right? Could be wrong, though. I think they almost are. Yeah, that's a good
Not
point.
really, because
That's a
I know
really
there's
good
a
point.
lot
A
of
lot of them are
freestylers on
Europeans.
NA. It's just a lot of them don't really stream often. Like for example, though I know this one streams OSM, like OSM Pulse. I know that he's a really good freestyler.
Yeah, yeah.
He's an NA player.
Is Pulse? I want to say OSMZU, but don't quote me on that.
He
But in my
was,
opinion,
but he switched over.
there's
I'm
going
pretty
to be
sure.
outliers to that rule. So, for example, you have Matt who has a little bit more of an EU play style, and you'll have some kind of freestylers like Jazer and people like that who are going for more in the air stuff. But I think that the general consensus in competitive play is that EU, in my opinion, I find it to be a little bit more ground based than NA, and NA is
Yeah.
a lot more in the air than EU. I find, and I mean, I originally got that idea in my head. It was from a comment that Rizzo made on a video from. Also, let me know if my mic's too loud because I don't really know if it is. It was a comment that Rizzo had made on a past, on a I think it was on a Rocket League. It was on something for Rocket League. Like guess that player. That was it. And I remember that Rizzo had basically
Guess that
said,
rank?
"Oh, this is an NA game. NA plays like 90% in the air," and I think that's how he knew it. Now, granted, that could have been an EU game, and I'm just an idiot and don't remember it right. But
No, it's Squishy Muffins. He said. He said.
no, Squishy wasn't in any of those replays. But
That
yeah,
was Squishy
that's just
Muffins.
kind of
No, that
my
was Squishy Muffins.
okay. That's kind of my opinion on it.
Squishy because he had a C9 decal. He had alpha boost. He was pulling off flip resets. I remember that clip.
Yeah. But
It's a
do you have
basic
anything?
Squishy.
Do you have anything else to add about the differences?
Not really. I also do notice that NA players tend to be a lot more toxic.
No, I wouldn't argue that anymore. That was the
Not yet.
case
Well,
for a
that can be
time.
next topic. That can be next topic. Next
Maybe.
topic.
I'll quickly give a quick thing about that. That was the case for a
No,
time, but I
don't.
wouldn't argue that
Hold
to be
off.
the
No,
case anymore.
no, 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 no,
All right, I
no.
guess we are going to be
Next
wrapping it up
topic.
here. I guess is that you got anything to add? Not true, XD. Yeah, exactly. I would say that NA and EU are about the same in my opinion. Maybe that could be a debate podcast. I have seen. I remember I've seen clips of EU that it was less toxic at a time, but it was like a Sunless Con comparison from like 3 years ago. You can't really trust that anymore, or not necessarily trust that. But I remember I did
But
see.
like for me, every other game I get into, there's always someone spamming what a save, or there's some guys just making.
You know,
it,
I don't
like,
notice that as
miserable.
much as you. And yes, maybe that is because since the last podcast, I have totally killed my chat. I turned it off all the way because I'm sick of getting one saved all the time. Yes, I'm not that great. You're better than I am. But that being said, I think that NA and EU toxicity, and this does go with playstyles a bit, so we don't really need to save it for another podcast. I think they are about the same, in my opinion. I think that EU players, it's hard. I haven't noticed too much toxicity in general, and even I don't really remember my toxic counter. So say I'll get what a saved, I'll just remember that I got what a saved. I won't remember what server is it on. I'll forget it I'll forget it a game later or something. But you know, it's kind of more so like I think that both the servers are toxic. I think it's just kind of the play styles that's the main difference between them. And you know, it depends
Yeah.
on your rank, it depends on who you get placed with, but the general consensus I feel is that NA is a lot more in the air, a lot less kind of strategy based, a lot more just kind of, yeah, like playing in the air. Whereas
Scattered.
EU, a lot more mechanical, and EU is a little bit more strategy,
Skill.
maybe slower, skill, and definitely rotations and positioning. Do you have anything else to add? Chad, if you have anything else to add, I'll leave it open for a minute here, and then we were going to end the podcast. Anything else that you guys have to add, chat, and then I'll leave it open for about a minute. What do you think our next topic should be? Because we're running out of ideas. Not really, but
Yeah, we have tons of ideas.
you have tons of ideas. I'm just bad at thinking of them. I'll figure it out.
Oh, you're
But
just busy.
what are you
I'm
basing
not
this off
busy.
of? Your own games or LCS? A bit of both. I think I have seen.
I'm basing it
I
off of,
find that I think
Musty
Wildcraft is
and
basing it off of
Sunless
his own.
Con.
Mine and
No,
RLCS.
I'm basing off Sunless and Squishies.
Yeah, because you just watch Sunless a lot. I
And
would
Musty
base it.
Pals.
I would have to say that it's more prevalent in higher ranks. Like I didn't notice it at all when I was gold or even low plat. It's only recently that as I've kind of been taking a little bit more of a look that I've really started to notice it. I've noticed EU be faster at times for some reason. And yes, it is a little bit of both that I'm trying to base it off here. Hey, Fabrizer, welcome to stream. Appreciate you coming on. It's a little bit of both. I think that in RLCS it does show as well. In Plat it also shows, hence PlatsTalk, why I called it PlatsTalk. But yeah, I think would you argue that as well? Kind of shows a bit in both. So that's kind of I'm trying to base it off of a bit of both here. It's kind of hard, but yeah.
Yeah, did we get any questions in the chat or no?
It was what are we basing it off, and I just answered that. Our own
Okay.
games are RLCS, and then I answered a bit of both.
Or bigger YouTubers.
What?
Or bigger YouTubers.
That's more so what you're basing it off. I've based my stuff off a little bit on Sunless Con's NA versus CU servers, but that's really just been for the chat part. Most of the time, if I want to get stuff for this podcast, I will just get it myself. And next time we do a podcast, maybe we'll come back to this topic, and I will actually get replays all at Platinum 3, like one replay for NA Plat 3, one replay for EU Plat 3, so we can have a better comparison. Now I know that I can't get them from PC, but do you have anything else you'd like to add, or do you want to wrap it up for today?
No?
Okay,
Wrap it
so
up.
that is going to wrap up the second episode of PlatsTalk, so let us know what you think in the comments. If the video on demand will be available, there is, I know there's a StreamLabs link in that's put in the description. Doesn't work. There's no donation link for these streams, so don't worry about that. There's no way to donate. And I'm definitely not asking
Maybe
you
we
guys
donate.
to.
We'll donate it to the one thing that has 19 in it.
No, we don't. I'm not setting that up. But that is going to wrap up this stream or video, so however you're watching this. So that's gonna wrap this podcast. So thank you all so much for watching. There's going to be a video this week. I'm pretty excited for it to come out. I already got it made. I'm trying to get back to the Thursday upload schedule that I typically do, so that's why I haven't. That's why I didn't upload today. Trying to get back on that Thursday schedule. But that's going to wrap up the stream. So thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next podcast.